Welcome to Organic Wine Review. I'm Jennifer Eyre, your host today. Unfortunately missing Winston, but in his place we have Edward Wallo from Yorkville Cellars, proprietor, founder, and winemaker extraordinaire. Hi, Edward.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
We're really excited that you're here. We wanted to learn a little bit more about the organic properties of Yorkville Cellars and all the things that you're doing in the vineyards.
Well, where do I start? We have been certified by CCOF, the main certifier in California now, since 1986. The best we can tell, it's one of the first 12 vineyards in the state to become certified. And to be certified, you basically don't use chemicals, no petrochemicals, whether it be fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, or chemical fertilizers. So it's more what you don't do than what you do in that sense. But I try and turn it on its head a little bit. People kind of tend to want to think that that's the new thing on the block, that it's difficult, that it's rocket science or whatever. And if you actually think about it the other way around, wine, they've proven scientifically, goes back 7,000 years. They have found fermented grape juice in vessels that they've dated back 7,000 years.
Right,
so
it's a natural process.
So for 6,950 years, any wine would have been grown organically until the petrochemical industry got involved after World War II. So if you're fortunate enough to have had a 1946 Margaux, I'm confident it was organic, not certified. But so now we have certifiers that independently sort of prove that and document that you are organic, that you're following the rules, and that you aren't doing something you shouldn't be doing.
I'm curious, how did you first hear of CCOF? Did they knock on your door one day? Did you?
Well, in our case, in the mid-'80s, we started looking for property in Mendocino. We absolutely fell in love with it on our first visit there. And there were a number of vineyards for sale, and we found this one property, 110 acres, with a small Sauvignon Blanc vineyard on it. And Sauvignon Blanc is what we have in front of us here, so it's kind of our flagship wine. We ended up falling in love with it, and the beautiful ancient oak trees and everything there, and started with this vineyard, small vineyard, thinking we would sell the grapes but live there, raise our children there. And it kind of evolved that we got more ambitious. The grapes were winning gold medals non-stop with the wineries using it. And so we decided to plant quite a bit more acreage. We quadrupled the acreage, added 7 more varietals. And so it had just been, to the point, it had just been certified organic, and our decision was really whether to continue being organic. But quite frankly, the fact that it was organic was part of the reason we were interested in it. Once you start reading a little bit more about it, understanding more about it, they're completely 180, whether you're trying to build the soil and the nutrition, or whether you're trying to more or less neuter it through chemicals and not have any problems. It's kind of a one side or the other. Since we were going to raise our family there, which we have done over this period, the fact that we were living on the property and our workers wouldn't have to wear the moon suits that they have to wear now for OSHA requirements for all the chemicals. And we're at the top of the watershed. In Yorkville, we're at 1,000 feet. On one side, everything flows down to the Navarro River and out to sea down in Mendocino. And right at the other side of our property, it heads the other direction into the Russian River and down south and ends up at the ocean down in Sonoma County. And so anything we would put on our vineyard obviously would affect our neighbors and the water in that area, and the fish and all the other habitat. So it wasn't not a difficult decision to continue the certification that they had just received when we bought it, and we've been proud to be certified straight, consistently, continually with CCOF now.
How difficult is it to meet the standards year after year?
In the North Coast, it's not that difficult. Again, it's more what you're not doing. It is just more expensive because you're basically using more hand labor. Instead of running the tractor through the vineyard numerous times with chemicals and, say, the herbicides, the industrial strength Roundup to kill all the weeds under the vines, you're dealing with them by hand. You're talking hose and and people out there working more. And a smaller vineyard, 30 acres that we have, is not that difficult. Also in the North Coast, Mendocino, 1,000 feet, we have very cool nights. Under different conditions down in the San Joaquin Valley, where there might have 100-degree days and 90-degree nights in August, I can imagine the pest populations build up to much higher and more difficult and challenging situations.
You make it seem pretty easy, really.
Well, it's to be honest, it's not that challenging, and I wish more than 2% of California vineyards were certified organic. In Mendocino, we're fortunate to have over 20% are certified organic.
And that's of how many wineries? Is it 80, you said?
We have 80 wineries and I think something like 320 vineyards or so. And 20% of the acreage is certified organic. That compares to about 5 in Napa, but Napa's growing quite quickly, and about 1% in Sonoma County.
What do you have here today?
Well, this Sauvignon Blanc, as I said, since we inherited a small Sauvignon Blanc vineyard that gave us the confidence to move forward and develop, plant more Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon and the 6 Noble Reds of Bordeaux, we decided to do all 8 of the Bordeaux varietals. But this Sauvignon Blanc vineyard has really never failed to win gold medals. We seem to be on a great terroir for Sauvignon Blanc.
Is it particularly resistant to problems, Sauvignon Blanc?
No, but it's a relatively easy varietal to grow, and in our conditions there we get a lot of fruit, grapefruit, citrus, zestiness, with a mineral quality, and very food friendly, I think. Therefore, you don't get some of the green and vegetative or bell pepper that when it's grown in a too cool a climate, nor do you get all the heavy duty sort of passion fruit and
I like it very much.
Overly tropical that
I agree.
In other circumstances you can get.
Yeah, the balance. It's very rich on the palate, but it's restrained at the same time. And it almost feels as though it has a touch of residual sugar.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And we barrel ferment. We do it Bordeaux style.
It's delicious.
We barrel ferment and barrel age it, which some people would naturally think of, okay, isn't it going to be quite woody? But if you use neutral oak, that in other words, seasoned, that have been around a few years, it doesn't impart any woodiness, but it does help with the balance and the structure of the wine.
But yet it hasn't lost the acidity and the spark and the vitality. It just got just a touch of kind of warmth on the palate.
Well,
and it's a big one.
Glad you
too,
like
right?
it. The acidity comes from Mendocino, further north, 1,000 to 1,300 feet. Even when it's 100 degrees at night, in our situation, it's down into below 70 by the time you go to bed.
That's
so
great.
it allows the grapes to, in effect, rest and then push the next day again, but it slows down the development of the bricks and retains the acidity that you might lose if under more hotter conditions.
What does this sell for retail?
This is $16 in our tasting room, and that's the suggested retail price.
Great value. I have 2 more questions for you. One is, I read on some of your materials that you have 3 pounds of organically grown grapes in every bottle. Is that just you, or is that all bottles of wine?
All bottles that are organic. That's the rough calculation for about how much grapes it takes to make a bottle of wine, and it's just kind of a trivia.
I like that.
Point.
And what is this award, the Masters of Organics, that you earned from CCOF?
That was given to us after, I believe it was the first 10 years. We've been certified organic for 23 years, but after 10 years they acknowledged the vineyards that had been doing it for at least 10 years with that award.
Very impressive. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome, Jennifer.
Really enjoyed it, and let me give you a little cheers here. Go out and try
Cheers.
Yorkville Cellars.